I honestly have no idea how I ended up coming around to finding it. All of a sudden, I'm actually at my doctor's one night for an ADHD uh, medicine change, and my doctor comes in and he's like, "Are you doing okay?" And I'm like, "Honestly, I don't know. Really, I mean, I've got school, all this other stuff, and my mom's chimes in. She's like, "I think he's depressed. He doesn't really talk. He doesn't really eat." And I was like, "Well, yeah, me not eating is kind of a side effect of the meds, so I'm not really used to eating until around like 7 o'clock at night anyway." And so she's like, "Yeah, but when you eat, you don't really eat." And I was like, "Well, yeah, sometimes I'm not really all that hungry. It doesn't mean I'm depressed." And so, of course, more tests done later. My doctor's like, "Yeah, well, your mom's right. You are depressed." And I was like, "Great." So I was like, "Yeah, whatever." More meds or not, didn't really bother me. Uh, it actually had come down to later finding out that after my dad had split, my parents got divorced. It kind of ended up taking a toll on me psychologically. As I got older, I realized that's why I was depressed, and I had really tried hard to hide from hiding the depression for a while because I'd stopped taking stopped taking the meds, and so it was just really hard to try to hide it. And, it was after I had actually gotten home from the military that the depression had actually gotten slightly worse. There were days where I couldn't even really get out of bed and go to work. So I had called in a bunch of times, and throughout the 2 years that I've been home, and said, I can't make it in today. My body's just not letting me function. It wasn't until just recently that I realized that I needed to surround myself with better friends who actually make me feel more at home. And meeting everyone in my current ward was actually probably the good thing for me. I didn't really know where to go to, where to turn to, and I was kind of having a hard time with my life. I mean, I was engaged, I thought I was happy, but turns out I wasn't. I guess I was just getting married to get married, and yeah, I loved her, but it obviously wasn't meant to be. After that, I ended up just surrounding myself with friends. And it wasn't until about a few weeks ago that I had made a friend who I really connected with. She has really been understanding of my issue, and she's really been there to help me out a lot. Her sister too. I don't think there's a day that goes by where I don't text either one of them and, see what they're up to, see if they're, having fun with their classes. They're really great friends. I really don't know where I'd be without them today if I hadn't met them. I actually started dating one of them. And yeah, I know what you're thinking. What makes this smile like this appear on my face? It's because of her. I guess you could say I've fallen for her a little bit. Well, more than a bit. I guess I could say a lot. And there's just something about her that just pushes away that dark cloud that looms over me whenever I'm depressed. I can get a text from her, and it could say, "Hey, how's your day going?" And it could make my day so much better. And I could also be having a really crappy night, and her sister could text me saying, "Hey, you should come over, and we should do something. And you should grab Brady too, and we could all go." And it'll make me smile too, because it'll be like, okay, I'm totally down. Let's do something. I'm sitting in my room doing nothing right now. And I don't know what it is about them, but I guess with them being from New England, I guess it just makes a thing from the do because I don't know stereotypes about New England, but from what I've heard is that people from New England are a bunch of party people and they like to do stuff. I went through therapy when I was for 12 years after my parents got divorced. I didn't really feel much of a difference after those 12 years. I had actually lost on about a year's worth, maybe more, of a childhood, it seemed like. And I mean, 12 years and once a week for 12 years straight, I mean, 52 times 12, it's obviously more than a year. With everything that's happened to me in my whole life, my parents got divorced. My dad got remarried twice, which is a whole nother story. I went to college, enlisted in the military, got sent home halfway through boot camp for mild asthma, and then here I am here 3 years later from getting home, and my phone just buzzed, and I'm pretty sure it's a text from one of them. My life has practically been a roller coaster from practically day one, where I moved from Georgia to Utah, and then at 21, leave for Great Lakes, Illinois, stay there for, I was planning to at least be in the Navy forever, if I could have, at least done 20 years, but that didn't happen. Come back home, live in Salt Lake, then move down to Provo. Coming to find out that Provo was probably the best thing to ever happen to me, was to move down here, make friends, meet people that are probably supposed to be in my life for a reason. I mean, then again, through Heavenly Father, I guess we all know something's supposed to happen. Through taking the meds, there was a slight difference. It seemed like it was just, something that's really hard to explain is feeling depression and then having depression while on medication. It's because without medication, the depression it's pretty much like your body just feels numb, and you feel all sorts of doubt and how you feel useless and you don't really feel like you can do anything right. Then there's the depression with medication circulating through your body at that time, where your body is like, oh yeah, no, this is not going to happen to you, but yet your body moves anyway. So it's more of depression. It's like medication can sometimes can be used to control it, but other times it's more of willpower with it. And so when I started realizing that it was more in my own head than it was what I was actually going through, what I was actually going through, I stopped taking the medication and I started seeing that I could have done a whole lot better with my life. Depression is a very hard subject for people sometimes, because sometimes other people can relate, other people can't, and so it's also, I'm trying to think back, because there was a time when I was in high school and I was having a really rough day, and it's like I felt like I wasn't doing anything right, but yet I just kept going anyway because I kept trying to fight it, and it was all because I was still on the medication at the time. And after all of that, it had just seemed to go and just seemed to just disappear after a while. And so I guess I was just having more of an idea with with letting stuff not get to me, having more fun with, with my friends and not letting my depression get to me at all. With me, depression isn't really triggered. It's more of I will wake up and I will just feel like I can't really do anything that day. And I would just feel like I would have no choice but to beat myself up for it. It's not really much of a trigger. It's more of a way that it's just random ways to feel. Like, you could wake up feeling totally awesome and you could, take on the day. And other days you just feel like today's really gonna suck. And I don't feel like I can do it. And other days it'll kind of hit you halfway through, and you don't really know what to do, other than hopefully, pray or hope that someone does something for you, makes your day better. Like there was a day last week at work that it was starting to hit me a little. And then I had customers come in, they started cracking jokes and it made me laugh, and it absolutely made my day. And it was funny too because they're both married women who happened to be like in their at least mid to late 40s, and I could have sworn was flirting with me a little bit, but I don't know. But the way they were laughing though, it made my day. There's not really much of a pattern. It could actually just be like a random day. Honestly, it could hit me like on a Monday. It could hit me on a Friday. It could also hit me like even on a Sunday, and I'd just be like, what's the point of even getting up out of bed today? With depression and anxiety, there are similarities between the two. However, there are also fine lines. Like with anxiety, you feel stressed, whereas with depression you don't. You just feel like you aren't going to be able to do anything. Whereas there's also common things like where you're totally stressed about the whole I've got work, but yet I'm super depressed. I don't know if I can be able to do this. And it's like, what am I going to do? It's like, what if I lose my job? All this other stuff. And then there's the whole where part of anxiety is it actually does broaden into depression. And there's been a post on Tumblr that if you ever see it, there's always the what people think is anxiety, where it's like you feel nothing, and then there's the whole what actually happens is there's depression. There's you don't really you feel stressed, you feel like you aren't going to be able to function, and there's so many other things that are going on. What really happens with anxiety, there's depression in there and all the other things. And also, with depression, there's also, it's the same thing. What people think you feel with depression is you feel super, numb. You can't really feel anything. You don't want to function. And then there's what actually happens, is you are having anxiety. You're not really going to be able to know what you can do about it, and a whole bunch of other stuff. It can be a way that I could be doing it, and I could also be distracting myself. I could be watching Netflix, or I could be playing some sort of video game, one of the three, and I could be easily distracted by other things in my life. And then after a while, I'll start to get bored, and then I'll turn it off, and then probably go for a drive or something. And then there is the whole afterthought of, it's like, what am I going to do for the whole, time that I'm not doing anything? And so I'll normally text somebody and be like, hey, let's go do something. And they'll be like, yeah, sure, what's going on? So, friends are a good defense against depression. Then there's also more distractions. I will also read my scriptures too to distract myself from it. But other than that, I mean, if you find something you feel comfortable with doing, do it. Find something you enjoy doing. For me, it's always been working with my hands. I either I'll draw, or I'll pick up a soldering iron and I'll start messing with the circuit board, and or I'll play a video game. But always find something you really do enjoy. It could be art, it could be music, it could be playing an instrument, it could be doing anything you enjoy, and it will always make you feel better. So it's a quote by Jeffrey R. Holland that says, "Keep trying, keep trusting, keep believing, keep growing. Heaven is cheering you on today, tomorrow, and forever." And a friend sent me that today, and it was something that actually really made me smile, because it helped me realize that my life isn't as messed up as I think it is, and that I have great friends that I'm surrounded by. I have Heavenly Father looking over me, and I have a great family. I mean, yeah, my parents may be divorced, but nothing really bothers me after that. And on the topic of family, I was at an institute last night with my friends, and it was on families, and it was talking about inactive family members that you still will stay in contact with. My little brother isn't as active as I am. He's less active. In fact, I think he's pretty much inactive now at this point. And so I sent him a text last night saying, "Here I am sitting at institute, talking about families," and instantly made me think of you. We may not see eye to eye, but you're still my little brother, and I love you. Come back soon. Miss you tons. And didn't get much of a response from him. In fact, he didn't even respond to that at all. But I'm pretty sure he got the text from me. And it really made me think, my family is the most important thing in my life. Next to friends and Heavenly Father and the church. And I feel like I've relied too heavily on my own strength to realize that I know I won't be able to conquer this depression alone. And sometimes people would say that, "Oh yeah, I can conquer this depression on my own. I'll be fine." When in all honesty is that with power comes strength in numbers. So it's really all you got to do is surround yourself with something that's amazing for you, whether it be family, friends, or something that's good for you. The hardest aspect of really dealing with it is actually having it, I guess you could say. The hardest aspect is always feeling alone with it, whereas I know I'm not alone, even though sometimes I feel alone. There's always been another quote that's really stuck by me is, "Depression is always going to be the hardest to get rid of when you surround yourself with people who you think can make you happy, when in all honesty, it's people who want you to be happy who you should surround yourself with." Surround yourself with someone who actually understands you, someone who you feel like you can be your own self around them. Where you don't have to feel like you can put on a face to feel like you're happy. Depression is one thing that will always suck, and it's always going to kick somebody's butt. whether it was you or someone around you, because you could be super depressed and a friend will want to hang out, and they'll get bummed because you don't feel like you can, because you're depressed. I guarantee you, if that friend wants you to hang out, it's because they're trying to tell you that you need to do something. And you need to get distracted. If you see someone with depression, talk to them, ask them about their day, get their mind off of it. It's crack a few jokes, show them something funny, anything. If you truly know them, show them something that they will find hilarious. For me, my sense of humor is a little bit twisted. So with me, like if I look at something military related and I think it's funny, I'm gonna laugh. So normally it's more of a there's a bunch of pages I follow on Facebook that actually are full of laughs, and it's great. So always find a distraction for them, whether it be you or something they would find hilarious. Take them to the movies, show them something hilarious.